Yeah,
Good.
yeah. Okay, Radhe Radhe, and welcome to our podcast, where we explore depths of different traditions of Gaudiya Vaishnavism and the Bhakti culture. I will be your host today, Kamal Lochandas. And today I'm honored to have a very special guest, Dhira Nitai Das. He is dedicated practitioner of Gaudiya Vaishnavism for many years. And we will be diving into the depths of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, its culture, beauty, and the different layers of Gaudiya culture. So maybe we'd first start with introducing yourself. What is your background? Where you're from? What is your experience in the Gaudiya Vaishnava world?
Gaura Haribol, thank you so much for a kind invitation for this interview, dear Kamal Lochandasji. It has been a while that we have been speaking live, and thank you for this nice introduction. Yeah, a little bit about my background. I started to practice Krishna consciousness some, let's say, almost now 30 years ago in Austria, where I was studying music. And then I went to Bhakti program, in ISKCON Zurich temple in Switzerland, where I also later met my ISKCON spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He wrote this series of books like Spiritual Warriors or leadership books. So he was that time quite prominent member of ISKCON GBC from America. And then later on, I returned to Austria, and we had nice preaching center in the city called Graz in Styria, in the Austrian state of Styria. Yeah, and then I moved to Croatia, where I also engaged myself in opening a new ISKCON temple there. And I started to be quite involved with different managerial services. And I was also trained as a manager in ISKCON. And then finally, it didn't work for me so well in Croatia for different reasons, basically for financial reasons. So finally, we moved. I married a nice devotee wife, and we Minakshi Swamini Dasi, and we moved to Germany. And then after a short while, we joined the farm community in ISKCON Jandelsbrunn. That's in Bavaria, in the southern part of Germany, near Croatian-Austrian border. And we were serving there for 10 years. I also had some managerial tasks and responsibilities. We opened a guest house, and we did some yoga programs, some outreach with yoga. And it went quite good. So I also connected very much to yoga community in Germany. I was invited then by Yadunandan Swami from ISKCON to join a European yoga conference, and then I started to give some workshops also there. And I was thinking, well, perhaps this will be development, in the future more and more with yoga. But then somehow it didn't work with that community because I started to see that there are some things missing, or I was always feeling that there was something missing, in the whole thing. The more I really try to be a good missionary, the more I discovered that there's so much more to discover and to know and to practice. And I was not satisfied with the simple, monastic life in the ashram. And I started to um, first engage myself more and more in teaching Bhakti Shastri. I also did a course for Bhakti Shastri teacher in ISKCON. And then I really went full ahead, on my own, because I didn't have any support by any senior devotee who could really guide me. So I started to do my own studies about all these books that are being taught in ISKCON Bhakti Shastri course. And like this, we met also in ISKCON
Yes.
this Narasimha, Prahlad Narasimha temple, when you came for this ISKCON disciple course, or however they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was kind of over the top for most of participants. It was a really fun experience. And then we also installed our personal deities because in the meantime, I also started to study Pancharatra, about deity worship and yagyas and like this, because this temple, this ISKCON temple was famous, for conducting big festivals around Narasimha Chaturdashi. And there is always Saturday Homa, Saturdays fire sacrifice, and I was also involved quite in the worship on the altar. And I also wanted to know about this because there were also some things that were not clear, so I had to clarify just for myself what am I doing, how should I do this worship and perform the worship. I am always very much about just knowing the context and the background so that I can go with the good consciousness into that, with the right consciousness, with the right understanding, basically, of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And
Yeah.
when you are a new devotee, you just go along with everything. You don't ask much, or like we were taught more or less to be soldiers in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. So as a soldier, fighting, you don't ask many questions. You just fight, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but with the time, there was crisis after crisis, especially in the Western world, you always have some managerial crisis, or you have, temple crisis, the temple closes, then you move on, and like this. And finally, I somehow by Lord's arrangements, when we installed our personal deities, things really started to happen. And I wanted to know also about this was even before finding not only my personal identity as a Gaudiya practitioner, but understanding what is Gaudiya Vaishnavism really about, because we are speaking today about different layers of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and especially in modern missions like in Gaudiya Math or in ISKCON, we have also this Vedic layer, because everybody's initiated with Brahma Gayatri. And nobody really asks questions, about this mantra and how to understand this mantra. And for me, it was always a mystery, always a question, how should I combine this mantra with the rest of our devotional lifestyle? And then I started to really go into understanding the traditional Sandhya Vandanam ritual around Brahma Gayatri, how to properly chant this Brahma Gayatri. And then I started really to understand more the topic of an ashram dharma, and like this, And then we have, of course, uh, this mixture, and Lord Krishna is saying in 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he is explaining, the Vedic version of worship and also Pancharatic style of worship, he is saying that he can be worshipped in pure Vedic style through Vanasham Dharma process. When you are initiated with Brahma Gayatri, he can be worshipped with in Tantric style, what we called Pancharatra. The scriptures behind these are many devotees don't know are called actually Agama. So we have Veda and we have Agama. I have on my YouTube channel, I have the whole lecture about this, how to understand these two processes. And
maybe you can,
yeah.
Sorry, maybe you can explain more about this Agama. What is it exactly?
Well, just shortly, Agama scriptures are what we would also call tantric scriptures, but not these sexual practices, what we
Yes.
know in the West. But these are the scriptures that are actually written really for Kali Yuga. And one part, Tantra or Agama is very big. All the different sects of Hindus are having their scriptures, coming from this Agama corpus. And so there are no scriptures for worshipping Shiva or scriptures for worshipping Durga and scriptures for worshipping Vishnu. And those who explain worship of Vishnu are then technically called Pancharatra. And that's how we are drawing our details about, the worship of Radha-Krishna or other forms of the Lord. And these scriptures are very liberal. They are not so caste conscious or Vanasham conscious. Everybody can worship. Even the animals can worship according to Agama or Pancharatra scriptures. Everybody is entitled to worship the Lord. But again, you need initiation also into that system. So this initiation is our initiation, how we take initiation in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Diksha process. This is Pancharatric Diksha, versus Vedic Diksha. And so Krishna is also mentioning there that he can be worshipped by the mixture of both. So this is what we see in Gaudiya Mata and ISKCON these days, that you get Vedic initiation and you get, or initiation into the Vedic mantra, and you get initiation into Gaudiya Vaishnava mantras, or specifically in the mantras for worshipping Radha-Krishna, or Gauranga Mahaprabhu, like that. And so we have this, sometimes confusion, especially for new devotees, because sometimes they are initiated and they are not being explained, all these details and different layers and different ways and styles of worship and different traditions, and then becomes like kind of kitschy. And then you are chanting so many mantras, but you don't understand where are these mantras coming from, why are we giving these mantras, who is basically the Ishta Devata or the worshipable form of the Lord that I should address with this mantra or worship by using this mantra. And then especially the mood, in which I should contemplate upon this mantra. How should I meditate with this mantra? Because this meditation is, of course, the most important part of everything. What are we thinking while we are using the mantra or worshiping the Lord? And so I went through all this, transformation, and also through different narratives, not that are there, especially in the West, how we are being taught about Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And I think then slowly, I'm coming to the essence of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And I know that Bhakti-tirtha Swami always gave us like few points how to understand if the religion is authentic, or the spiritual path, better to say, is authentic or not. And the first thing is to understand the goal of your practice, or what you want to achieve through this spiritual path. And if this is very clear, and it should be very clear, now it should be clear. And for me, it was not clear. Now, I was thinking that it is clear, and I must say that I was more connected really to gurus. I was very connected to Srila Prabhupada, to A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada. I was very, very connected to my spiritual master, and I was more I'm speaking about my personal experience. I was more in Guru consciousness than in Gauranga consciousness or Radha-Krishna consciousness. But quite at the beginning of my spiritual journey, I got a wonderful book, and there was a German translation of the book called Gauranga Lila Smaranam, something like this. I think it's Gauranga Lila Smaranam, Stotra, something. It's a combination of verses written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and then expansion of those verses by his disciple Krishnadas. And it is all about eightfold pastimes of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And I felt deeply connected at that point with this idea of worshiping Gauranga through his whole day, and his Ashtakala Lila, pastimes. And but I couldn't find anybody. Yes.
When did this happen? When did you find this Gauranga Ashtaka Lila? When did you find out about
it? Was beginning of 2000, perhaps 2001.
Wow.
Or something, 2000, 2001. Yeah, some of these
Wow.
came to me, and also I had
For a long time.
Really powerful experience. I was still not initiated. I just really started to seriously dedicate myself to the Nama Japa, to the process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And I had some experience with Gauranga Mahaprabhu, where I felt very clearly his presence and his also protection, that he's like behind me and over me, really watching over me and my spiritual development. And I can remember later on when I got initiated, I started to give some seminars, explaining, these pastimes of Gauranga Mahaprabhu in Navadvipa. But then with the time, because I didn't have association that would nurture this Bhava, somehow it went into the background. And then, especially when I started to worship, here Prasad Narasimha, then I was really trying to understand this tattva, Narasimha tattva. And how is their connection to Lord Krishna? Is there any connection? Can we combine the two moods, or can we not combine the two moods? And I was quite confused with that. And finally, when I installed our Radha Madan Mohan deities and Nitai Gaurachandrika deities, somehow I understood, no, actually, and through my personal studies, I understood that Gauranga Mahaprabhu is actually our worshipable deity. And Radha-Krishna also there, of course, for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And then with the time passing by, after 4 or 5 years, I understood actually that, and what we heard, that we cannot worship Radha-Krishna without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or without Gauranga for me, because I worship Nitai Gauranga, not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sannyasi, not Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And that is also another confusion. That is also another layers, of this Gora Tattva, because we can worship him as a Grihasta, and that's usually the case, all Nitai Gaura or Gaura-Gadadhara deities. No, he's Grihasta, but where is he Grihasta? He's Grihasta in eternal Navadvipa. Okay, and as Sri Krishna Chaitanya, actually we don't hear that he's in sannyasi, mood in the spiritual world, but this is his Bhoma Lila here on the earth. And that was also quite confusion to understand that layers, and these different features. Okay, but then I understood that actually not that we should worship Radha Krishna along with Gauranga Mahaprabhu, but we should worship Radha-Krishna through Gauranga Mahaprabhu, because very clearly how Jiva Goswami is also explaining through his Sandarbhas, and how Bhagavata commentators are commentating on this famous verse in the 11th canto, where there is a prophecy about appearance of Yuga avatar, of Kali Yuga avatar, Krishna Varnam Vishwa Krishnam Sangopa Gastra Parshadam. No, that he will appear, the Krishna will appear, but not in the color, in the black color of Krishna, but he will appear as non-blackish, actually as a golden avatar. So when we study this, and we clearly understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, is the Yuga avatar of Kali Yuga. And that this is the form of the Lord that Gaudiya Vaishnavas should actually primarily worship, which they don't do so much, or they just do some lip service, but they worship more actually. So I'm saying that we should worship the Swayam Bhagavan. So for me, as my personal understanding, Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the Yuga avatar feature of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and Swayam Bhagavan is Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu in coming from eternal Navadvipa as Grihasta, but then becoming sannyasi after some time and showing his Vishnu feature, or Yuga, Kali Yuga avatar feature. So
but
yeah,
still Radha and Krishna is still like the goal, but we have to attain them through Gauranga, or
so
how
for
to
me, yeah,
understand.
that's what we started to speak about, that we should be clear about our goals, that we can see if the practice is matching the goal, is the practice is suitable for attaining the goal. So this is the second point which Bhakti Tirtha Swami was always giving. And of course, if there are some authentic practitioners of the path, where we can see if this process is working, if the goal can be attainable, first the saints from the past, if they have attained the goal, if the saints from the past have attained that goal, so then it's clear, okay, the goal is clear, one can achieve this goal. And with the present saints, you can check if somebody can attain this goal even today, in today's environment, in today's circumstances. And for me, it became more and more clear, and it is very clear from this teaching also of Bhagavatam, from the 11th canto, where Kartabhaja Muni is explaining this to the king. I forgot now what the name of the king is. But he is explaining to this king that actually you should worship the avatar of that Yuga. So if you're in Kali Yuga, you should worship Kali Yuga avatar. So when did Krishna appear?
You mean in Kali Yuga? Or
no, I mean,
it's
clear that Krishna didn't appear in Kali Yuga as Krishna, as Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, as Shyama Sundar, Vrajendra Nandana. Vrajendra Nandana appeared in Dvapara Yuga. And he showed his avatar as Vasudev Krishna, his Dvapara Yuga avatar in Dvaraka and Mathura is this Dvapara Yuga avatar that could be seen, and so this is Vasudev Krishna feature, and Vrajendra Nandana, of course, never leaves Vrindavan, but he appeared with Srimati Radharani in Dvapara Yuga. But then we say, of course, because Sri Krishna Chaitanya taught us to worship Radha Krishna and to sing their names, so we think that this is the main goal. And we are worshipping Radha Krishna, but we are worshipping Radha Krishna through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what does this mean? This means that we do Radha Krishna worship in the way how Mahaprabhu showed us. Because he came, the two main reasons for his coming in Kali Yuga is actually to explain about Raga Marga, about the worship of Vrindavan, about the mood of worships of eternal residents from Vrindavan, and to show, the path and to teach the Raganuga sadhana bhakti, which is a sadhana actually to attain this raga, of eternal residents of Vrindavan. So we cannot worship or understand the worship of Radha-Krishna without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and call ourselves Gaudiyas. So we should not worship Radha-Krishna as a highest goal, but we worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and one part of his mood is mood of Vrindavan. So that's why we first always connect with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this is called Gaura-Chandrika. This is a special style where we first meditate on pastimes of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and then we go with him when he changes his mood from Navadvipa to Vrindavan. We change also our identities from Navadvipa identities to Vrindavan identities, and then we are with him worshipping Radha Krishna. We are with him in Vrindavan, his Radha mood, and like this. But to be very specific, very clear, primarily Ishta Devata for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, as per my understanding, is Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and not so much Radha Krishna.
You said in Vrindavan also, when we perform service to Radha Krishna, so Gauranga is present there also in his Vrindavan form, or is Gauranga
we are following,
of
course,
how to understand it?
Gauranga is Radha and Krishna combined. Okay.
Yeah, that's the question here. If you're saying in Vrindavan, then how to understand this?
So he manifests as Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. He is manifested as Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. He is manifested as Gauranga Sundar in Navadvipa. And from Navadvipa, he takes his more sometimes, not always, because he has different moods in Navadvipa. Not only Radha Bhava mood, he has other moods in Navadvipa. But when he takes his Radha Bhava mood, when he wants to relish the Bhava of Srimati Radharani, this Ujjvala Rasa, then we follow his mood and we are relishing with him this Bhava. So it's not that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and we are as sadhakas, as Gauranga Parshadas, as associates of Gauranga, as servants of Gauranga. It's not that we are there and appearing in Vrindavan that forms, but just we are following that mood and we are relishing that mood. And this is called Bhavadya worship. Bhavadya. Bhava Adya, where we follow that Bhava, we are relishing that Bhava, we are worshipping this Bhava, and we can be in our Vraja Svarupas, in Vrindavan Svarupas, we can also perform service. And in that way, of course, also in Navadvip, we want to help Gaurachandrika relish his Radha Bhava. So we are in that mood of helping him relishing Radha Bhava.
Okay, thank you for clarifying this.
Of course, there's many other details that we could speak about this, how this works, how this technically works, but this should be then perhaps for another time. But I just want today to make my understanding, to bring this my understanding of cross, which is not only my understanding, but I am deeply convinced that this is understanding of the Goswamis, this is understanding especially of the associates, eternal associates, like for example, the Goswamis and Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy. And I could back up this all with whole Shastric references if somebody needs this, but let's leave it this for now. Let's just I will just make this statement that Ishta Devata for Gaudiya Vaishnavas is Gauranga Mahaprabhu, or how I'm calling him, Sri Gaurachandrika, and then with him we are going also in these moods of Vrindavan. We are also relishing and serving Radha-Krishna Lila just because he is doing. But as Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj is also stating, there is one quotation of him, which can be found in internet, that he stated exactly that one should worship the avatar for that yuga, and clearly the Kali Yuga avatar is nobody else but Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and one should even chant only the names of that avatar.
So maybe you can also tell to our listeners who are not familiar a little bit more about Gaur Nagari Bhav. What is it about, and how is this practice cultivated? How is it related to the statement that you made that Mahaprabhu is our primary worshipable Ishtadev?
Okay, thank you for this question. There's another topic that is that needs clearly some clarification and some deep study, and there are so many narratives about these topics. And when I started to dig up and started to see the facts, then I saw that actually, you see, when Mahaprabhu appeared, he was not first in Radha Bhava. No, so for first, more or less for at least 20 years, until his initiation by Ishvara Puri and Gaya, he was clearly himself. No, he was playing himself. He was playing Gaurachandrika in Navadvipa with his parents, with his wives, Lakshmi Priya, Vishnu Priya. And he was served and he was followed by his dear bhaktas there. You know, by his parents in Vatsalya Bhava, but by his wives in Madhurya Bhava, you know, and by his friends in Sakha Bhava, and like this. So he was relishing all different rasas with his dear associates. And then after initiation, he started to be more in Gopi Bhava, or sometimes in Manjari Bhava, sometimes in Gopi Bhava, sometimes in Bhakta Bhava. You know, he was relishing all different bhavas. This is amazing, you know. And this Bhakta Bhava is very special because this is his real merciful feature for teaching us how to achieve the rasas, of course, on Navadvipa and Vrindavan. But and then at certain point, no, he changed completely into the Radha Bhava. And we were saying that this is Krishna. Of course, we should understand, you know, Gaura Tattva, which is very complex topic. We will not do justice today to explain this. And I don't even really see myself qualified to speak deeply about these topics because there are other sadhus who I am taking shiksha from and who are much more qualified to speak about this. So, but I was always following this feeling. I always had this feeling that Gora is my Ishtadeva. And finally, when I know through, just to come back to my story again, to connect it, when we installed our deities and by their guidance, by their mercy, and by my studies, because I wanted to understand the mood in which I should worship Radha-Krishna, in which I should worship Nitai Gaurachandrika. And finally, I was thinking, you know, somehow I'm Gora Bhakta. At one point, I really decided I like Radha-Krishna too, but I don't feel such a deep attraction as for Gaurachandrika. And I was then clear, well, I need to find a guru who is through and through Gaura Bhakta, not only Radha Krishna Bhakta, but really Gaura Bhakta. And somehow I came to one sadhu with whom I could connect and who I only knew about him in this connection. Gaura Bhakta, that there was only one person I knew for sure that he's Gaura Bhakta. And he happened to be also a Western devotees initiated by Srila Prabhupada and quite controversial person. So I'm reluctant to say his name, and one should also not disclose so easily the name of the guru. I will just say he is a Westerner. He was initiated in ISKCON by Srila Prabhupada. He was serving personally Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan for until the demise of Srila Prabhupada, until Srila Prabhupada left this world. And then later on, he got initiated in the line of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or better to say, let's say now line of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur had two sons. Usually we, as Western devotees, we always hear or only know about the most glorious son, which is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or Bimal Prasad, how he was called before he took sannyas. But we rarely hear or never hear about Lalita Prasad Thakur. And this is the second son, the younger son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who actually got initiated into by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by his father. So his father became his guru, and he gave him exactly the same process of worship, how he got it from his guru. And this is also quite not clear for many devotees where Bhaktivinoda Thakur was initiated, what is his line, that his line is traditional Nityananda line or Nityananda Parivar, how we say, traditional line coming basically from empowered by Nityananda Prabhu through his Shakti. We say Param Vijayate Shri Nityananda Shakti. So who is this Nityananda Shakti? This is Janava Thakurani. And there is whole line coming down to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we say Guru Pranali, Siddha Pranali Soha. Amna Siddha Guru Parampara Keshata Koti Pranam Janai. So there is a uninterrupted, unbroken line of gurus and Siddha Mahatmas, those who achieved Siddhi through their sadhana, and coming through the line of Ramay Thakur. So this was the adopted son and disciple of Janava Thakurani. And there was one Goswami in that line. This was then later on Goswami line. So there were like, for example, even mothers initiating their children, or the uncles initiating their nephews, or the brothers initiating their brothers. So it was a family line. And there are like three mothers in a line, very interestingly, in that line, Goswaminis, not only Janavama, but three other ladies who were initiating. And finally, there was one Goswami called Bipin Bihari Goswami. And he was a Diksha Guru of Bipin Bihari, of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that time Kedarnath Datta. And actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that he was looking for a long time for a guru. And then he had a dream, where Mahaprabhu appeared to him and pointed out he should take initiation from Bipin Bihari Goswami. That's by the words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, not by her saying, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing in his autobiography, explaining how he got to be initiated in that line, that it was like a miracle, actually, a special spiritual dream. And soon after that, Goswami visited him and initiated him into that line together with his wife Bhagavati Devi. with his wife, and he was holding his guru in very high esteem in his many writings, and he's never mentioning actually any other guru, be it Diksha or Shiksha guru in his writings. He's only glorifying his guru from this Bhagnapara Sampradaya. Bhagnapara
Mm.
is the place in no, if you see south of Navadvip or Mayapur, no, more on the left side of the Ganga, no, where Ramay Thakur, this first, we could say, Acharya after Janamama, there are many branches. No, Janamama had many disciples, and there are many branches. You are also, as I know, initiated in Nityananda Parivar, but I think another branch. There are branches by Birapadra Goswami or Barganga Ma, like this, by the children, of the direct children of Nityananda Prabhu, or there is this adopted son, and there are some disciples of Janavama, and there are branches from there. But this is this
There
Ram.
is the Nityananda Vamsa and Nityananda Parivar. There's
Yeah,
the difference.
yeah, yeah. We
One is
say
the
bloodline.
bloodline.
Yeah, there are bloodlines,
Mm.
and there are lines by spiritual initiation. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And this is interesting thing that here we have adopted son, who is not directly bloodline, but it's said that this Ramay Thakur was incarnation of his grandfather, or reincarnation of his grandfather, who was Vamshivadan Thakur. There are different names of him, but Vamshivadan Thakur is one name that we know in the West. And he was in Vraja Lila, he was Krishna's flute that appeared in Gora Lila. And he was initiated by he got shiksha, direct shiksha, personal shiksha by Mahaprabhu while in Navadvip, while Mahaprabhu was still in Navadvip, just before he took sannyas. And then he got initiated after that, he got diksha by nobody else than Vishnu Priya, the second wife of Mahaprabhu. And then he reincarnated as Ramay Thakur. So there are some special connections there, even to Vishnu Priya and Mahaprabhu, like this from Vamshivadan. But anyway, finally, no, Bhaktivinoda Thakur got initiated, and he is always glorifying his guru from Bhagna, and he is glorifying this whole Bhagnapara Sampradaya, the seat of his guru, and all the Goswamis that are coming in that line. And he got even his title, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, from these Goswamis from Bhagnapara. And finally, he initiated his son, Lalita Prasad Thakur, and then my spiritual master from Nityananda Parivar, he was initiated by Lalita Prasad Thakur. And so I got also this initiation into that line because it was important for me for my Raganuga sadhana. Because for each sadhana, you need a guru, a qualified guru that can teach you this sadhana. And I had very good training, I must say, in ISKCON, in Vaidhi Bhakti Sadhana. Very good training because I had luck to be on right place in the right time. And I was also trained for a few years by a very famous ISKCON Purohit or priest, like Gaura Das, who is also who also got Pancharatic Diksha in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, in Ramanuja Sampradaya. So he's very knowledgeable in all the matters of deity worship and fire sacrifices, Homa, Yagya, Puja. So I'm not so much into the fire sacrifices, I'm more into puja. And I'm very thankful that I learned as much as I needed and as I still need. I learned all the things from him. I learned also about Sandhya Vandanam, and all these differences between different traditions and processes. You know, And yeah, like this. So, but then I was missing completely. I couldn't really find a person to guide me in Raganuga sadhana. I really wanted to remain in ISKCON and be somehow faithful to, let's say, Srila Prabhupada, all this mission that I really lived for many years for, because I was also trained, which I didn't mention, I was trained at the ISKCON GBC Leadership College to later become, some leader in ISKCON, like a new leader in ISKCON. So you can become after that college, you can get service of zonal supervisor or right hand of the local GBC, or you can then become even GBC after that. I was studying at that time together with Krishna Prema Rupa Dasji, who became now new ISKCON GBC for German-speaking countries, is GBC for Germany. And yeah, but I couldn't find a person who could really explain me, how to worship Gauranga Mahaprabhu, how to worship Radha-Krishna in Raganuga sadhana. And then I didn't want to go so far from ISKCON, and I'm very lucky that I got initiated in the Bhaktivinoda Thakur's traditional line, so that I'm still connected to his sons, his family. And I didn't have to go to Radhakund. I didn't have to go so far. And also that Guru was more of Gora Bhakta. So it was perfect actually for me that I could learn in that style. And because and what I wanted actually to explain, that I started to explain and now I drifted apart. But I wanted to explain about the moods of Gauranga Mahaprabhu in Navadvipa. And basically, just let us say for very clear understanding that according to our understanding of me and my spiritual master and other also my Shiksha gurus, there is a clear Navadvipa dimension of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and there is a Navadvip school even, around worshipping Gauranga in eternal Navadvip and in this Navadvip on the earth, versus the whole Radha-Krishna worship that was revived by 6 Goswamis in Vrindavan. So actually we are speaking about Navadvip school or Navadvip tradition of Gaudiya Vaishnavism and Vrindavan tradition. And the first school was actually Navadvip.
Well, so makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's original worship of Gora. So if you want to understand how to worship Gaurachandrika, you should read the accounts of his devotees that were with him there, which are basically members of Panchatattva, starting with Advaita Prabhu, and then around Nityananda Prabhu, and especially Gadadhar, Pandit, and his disciples like Narahari Sarkar or Narahari Thakur, that we also know, and his famous disciple Lochandas Thakur. So, but these days, you see, when you mention this to somebody from Radhakund or from Vrindavan, of those who are very steep in Radha Krishna's seva, they will say, they will go so far, and even some modern Gaudiya acharyas, they will say, oh, we don't have anything to do with this Narahari Thakur, and even less with Lochandas Thakur. Lochandas Thakur is even not our Gaudiya Vaishnava. So I'm really quoting some modern acharyas, not just randomly devoted, but some modern acharyas, be it from Radhakund or be it from Gaudiya Math or be it from ISKCON, they are rejecting Lochandas and his teachings, where they are clearly teaching this is coming in the line of Gadadhar Pandit, because Gadadhar Pandit is Radha. Gadadhar Pandit is our Gaudiya Radha. This is also a message that I want to share with Gaudiya Vaishnavas and with others who are interested, that our Krishna is Gaurachandrika and our Radha is Gadadhar, Sri Gadadhar. And so the Sri Gadadhar, he cannot forget him being Radha in the previous life. He is Radha, or she is Radha, better to say. She has his female features, and even we believe, and there are accounts that there is a, and he is called like that by Kavi Karnapura, for example. Kavi Karnapura is when he's in Gaura-Gadadhara Dipika, how he's defining Gadadhar, he's saying Gaura Vallabha or Prema Lakshmi, So this is very interesting. He's beloved. He's a female lover of Gaurachandrika, and Lakshmi steep in Gaura Prema. Not only Vishnu Priya,
You said that some Gauriyas, they don't accept Lochandas Thakur, but this is, I hear first time about this, because also in ISKCON, I think, and Gaudiya Math also, they read some of his writings, as far as I know.
Yes, but not all of them. They accept just one part, which suits the narratives.
Okay.
They don't accept the other parts. So no, this is a whole another topic. I don't want to drift too much away from this.
Don't have to go too deep into that.
No, who knows about Lochandas Thakur's Dhamali, which is collection of his Gora Nagari poems? And who will accept this as being bona fide in ISKCON or Gaudiya Math? No, they went to such extent, especially in ISKCON, that they accept only Chaitanya Mangala biography of Lochandas Thakur, biography of Gauranga Mahaprabhu by Lochandas Thakur. And if you are looking for the original 15th chapter of Chaitanya Mangala, there is a 15th chapter of Chaitanya Mangala in the manuscripts and in Bengali versions. And if you look in the ISKCON editions, especially ISKCON editions, you will not find this whole 15th chapter. It's being taken out. So we don't know for which reason, but we can assume the reason being that this chapter describes the last encounter, the night encounter between Gaurachandrika and his dear wife Vishnu Priya, a night before him taking sannyas and leaving Vishnu Priya behind. So in the morning he was not there, but in the night he had loving exchanges with Vishnu Priya. So when do we hear about this? And how can we hear if the whole chapter is also being just taken out? I don't know if by mistake. How can you by mistake forget the whole chapter? Or that's a strange, not only one verse or one paragraph, the whole chapter has been taken out. It's not so in all Gaudiya Math editions, but in some editions of Gaudiya Math, and now more and more they are taking this out. Even Gaudiya Math is taking this out because of ISKCON, because ISKCON is even more radical in that sense of portraying Sri Gaurachandrika only as sannyasi. And only his Vishnu Kali Yuga avatar feature. But we are lucky that in Bhaktivinoda Thakura's line, Bhaktivinoda Thakur added something, and he gave to Lalita Prasad Thakur Gaura-Gadadhara mantra, because they were worshipping at home Gaura-Gadadhara, and Lalita Prasad continued to worship his Gaura-Gadadhara as his personal deities, beside Radha Madhava deities. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also writing that this Radha Madhava, they appeared as Gaura-Gadadhara now. Radha-Krishna appeared now as Gaura-Gadadhara. Now that's our Radha-Krishna worship actually. Gaura-Gadadhara should be primarily our Radha-Krishna worship, but you cannot understand this worship without Radha-Krishna Lila and without also serving Radha-Krishna in Vrindavan, because that's the background, that's the whole backdrop, of Gaura-Gadadhara worship. So, these are also these different layers. So the one layer of Gaudiya Vaishnava worship, of course, Puranic layer, where we get so many information from Puranas. One part is some Vedic scriptures, or Vedic mantras because of Brahma Gayatri and like this of Sandhya Vandana. One layer is Radha-Krishna worship in Vrindavan. And then we have this layer, which is kind of quite unknown and quite not understood properly, of Gaura-Gadadhara worship or Gaur Vishnu Priya worship. What about that, So there are so many things that we don't know about this, but that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was clearly aware and clearly writing his many songs, about Gaura-Gadadhara and how he is worshipping Gaura-Gadadhara in his home at Navadvipa or in his kunja, at, Surabhi Kunj in Navadvipa. So I threw very much a lot of things now your way. Now you will ask now some questions.
What do you think, can this kind of mood cultivated more communally or more widely, or is it more like of an intimate and inner path that is only for some individuals, or how do you perceive this? Can this be widely spoken about, or?
Well, there is one thing again of understanding the tattva and understanding the rasa and understanding the sadhya or the goal that we should achieve, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed to this out, or Gaura-Gadadhara pointed this out through their Lila. So just making this connection that actually when we speak about Gora-Nagari Bhav, Gora-Nagari is not different from Gopi Bhav in Vrindavan. So Gopi Bhav in Navadvipa is called Gora-Nagari Bhav. And who showed this is Gadadhar himself. So if we reject Gaura-Nagari as something being not bona fide, then it's like rejecting the whole Gopi Bhav as not being bona fide, or rejecting the whole mood of how Radharani is worshipping Krishna, because Gaurachandrika was worshipped as Swayam Bhagavan, as Rasaraj Shekhar, better to say, not as Swayam Bhagavan, but Rasaraj Shekhar, as non-different from this Madan Mohan or Cupid from Vrindavan. He was worshipped by his Shaktis in Navadvipa. So he was married to Vishnu Priya. He is eternally married to Vishnu Priya, and he is eternally married to Lakshmi Priya, which has been established also very clearly by Bhaktivinoda Thakur when he installed not only Gaurachandrika and not Panchatattva, but he installed in Yogapit Gora, Lakshmi Priya, Vishnu Priya. So this is what is going on eternally. So this is Madhurya Rasa, one dimension of Madhurya Rasa, where there is this really conjugal union, between married couple or couples, So Gaurachandrika has two wives, not only one wife. He's married there because Krishna was not married. Krishna was completely Parakya Bhav. Parakya Rasa, just how you say, this non-marital relationship, outside of marriage. It was completely romantic, lover to lover between non-married people, although Radharani was married. But Krishna was not married. But now this Krishna got married, and Radharani got married to him in the form of Vishnu Priya. But there are even more layers. We have so many layers of Gora Tattva, but what about layers of Radha Tattva being manifested in Navadvipa? So we have Gadadhara also as Radha there. And so Gadadhara can have this Parakya relationship with Gaurachandrika. Of course, not in the male form, not male to male.
Yeah, because some they might accuse or they might say, I've heard some versions that there is some homosexual element to this. Some speculate like that because of Gaura-Gadadhara.
Some
What
speculate
would you
what
have to say?
exactly, what is the exact speculation?
That there is a homosexual relationship involved between Gaura-Gadadhara because of this kind of mood. They speculate like this.
Because they see
Yeah,
only
yeah,
this outer form,
yeah.
yes, because they
Mm,
see this manifested form, but they don't see the unmanifested form of Gadadhar, which is
mm,
clearly there by the writings of his
mm,
disciples and by the writings of all those who were influenced, like Shivananda Sen, Vasudev Ghosh, and like this, who know that there is female Swarup,
mm.
of Gadadhar, in which he can pursue his parakya relationship with Gaurachandrika. So we can provide so many references from Mahajana's Padavalis, from so many books, from the
So how
writings
to
of
understand?
Gauravachandra Thakur.
So how to understand this? Meaning Gadadhar, he takes on a female form during that Lila
So we
during
have a Siddhanta
or
by
how?
Jiva Goswami from his
Mm, mm,
I think Krishna Sandarbha, that in Krishna Sandarbha, I'm not
mm,
so good with all these quotes, but I can remember that it is somewhere in Krishna Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami explaining that
mm,
Krishna can take so many forms in so many prakashas. Prakashas are, like spiritual dimensions. And
mm,
and I just recently spoke also with our devotees here that Jesus is saying, this is a
mm.
famous saying of Jesus, that in the home of my father there are so many flats, there are so many apartments.
Houses, I think, yeah, or
Now,
something like
in the house of my
so,
father, there are so many apartments,
r-
so many flats
apartments,
in
rooms.
the
Yeah.
house.
Mm,
No? So very, very nice parallel that we can go. And Jiva Goswami is saying, well, there are so many dimensions of the Lila where the Lord is taking different forms to suit different moods of his devotees.
mm,
And so the Lord can simultaneously appear in different spiritual worlds, in different apartments of Navadvipa. So Navadvipa has different spiritual dimensions, different spiritual apartments, which
mm,
are completely separated from each other. So that he is not even aware that he is simultaneously in another apartment doing something else, and completely with another of his Shaktis doing something else.
mm,
And he's even going further, Jiva Goswami is saying not only that the Lord can manifest so many identical forms at the same time in different
mm,
spaces, but his devotees can do the same. So, in that sense, Gadadhar can be present as a member of Panchatattva,
mm,
no, as him being like having Grihastha life. Gadadhar is like Grihastha, he's wearing white
mm,
in Navadvipam, in eternal Goloka Navadvip. So we are speaking about Goloka Navadvip, eternal Goloka,
mm,
spiritual world.
mm,
Gaurachandrika is married there with Vishnu Priya. So
mm,
Gadadhar will not show any romantic feelings at that time. He will
mm,
be Gora Bhakta. He will be a servant of Gaurachandrika. He will behave like a devotee should and will behave. He will follow the sadachar and he will serve Gaurachandra in his palace where he lives with his parents and with his two wives. And he will be pujari there. There, Gadadhar will serve as pujari. He will give regular Bhagavatam class. He will be Bhakti devotee. But there is another dimension, another Prakash, where Gadadhar is becoming more like Lakshmi or like Radha in Navadvipa and taking a beautiful female form and having Parakya relationship with Gaurachandra. And that's what Narahari Thakur is writing about. That's what Lord Sridas Thakur is writing about. That's what Shivananda Sena, Vasudev Ghosh, so many very intimate devotees of Gaurachandra and Gadadhar are writing about.
Is there any depiction available somewhere of his female Swarup?
You mean like ancient?
Ancient or modern? Yeah, because I've heard about Gaura-Gadadhara worship before, but I've never now to think about it that there's this female aspect. I'm thinking there must be some kind of like a depiction of it.
Perhaps. I'm not aware about ancient. I'm aware of some new made or recently made. But it's very hidden. This form is very hidden. And you were asking about, is this for everybody or anybody? It's only for those devotees who can understand Gadadhar Tattva in full and who can understand Gaura-Gadadhara Tattva in full. So I think that we should have theoretical knowledge about everything, and that our gurus should also give us the whole picture, and should really study Gaudiya Vaishnavism and this Navadvipa school especially, which is not being studied. Only Vrindavan school is prominent by the six Goswamis, which is important, which is nice, and which was desire of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. But Gauranga Mahaprabhu had also other bhavas, and he's also Krishna. He has this feature of being Rasaraj in Navadvip, not only Radha Bhav, no? And what about his relationship with Gaura Vishnu Priya? So this has been clearly explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this Gauranga Lila Smarana Stotra. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is clearly explaining this is being accepted as bona fide Shastra by everybody. He is giving 11 verses of the day of Mahaprabhu, and he's not explaining anything about Gadadhar, but he is putting Vishnu Priya and Lakshmi Priya in perspective and explaining that Gora has loving relationship, Swakiya relationship, but not only Swakiya, there is also something of Parakiya there, but this is for another time to understand again this. Because I will just say so much that Lakshmi Priya and Vishnu Priya, they don't have children. So that's why they can still have very romantic relationship with Gaurachandra. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is giving these 11 verses. And I think that this is important also to understand, to have this whole picture, how it developed. So Rupa Goswami is composing 11 verses. I think it's called Smarana Stotra, if I'm not wrong, if I can remember correctly. 11 verses briefly describing Ashtakala Lila of Radha-Krishna in Vrindavan. Then by his desire and blessings, Krishna Das Kaviraj is taking this task upon of him, explaining and expanding these 11 verses in his Govinda Lilamrita, isn't it? So Govinda Lilamrita, the main Ashtakala Lilas, always have first the verse of Rupa Goswami, and then he's writing his own verses, explaining this, expanding these 11 verses into the full picture of one day in Radha Krishna Lila. And then later on, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, if you compare his 11 verses about Gaura Ashtakala Lila, they are matching completely the 11 verses of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami's verses are the template of
mm,
Vishwanath Chakravarti 11 verses. So this is the
mm,
same idea. He's just translating Radha-Krishna into Gaura Lila, Radha-Krishna Lila into Gaura Lila. And that's exactly how we should see it. We should see that it was not so much written about Gaura Lila, so much in details about Ashtakala Lila of
mm,
Gaurachandrika, because you can translate almost one-to-one, take Govinda Amrita, and then take this as a template to worship Gaurachandrika in Madhurya Rasa in Navadvipa, in Gora Nagari Bhav. And then
mm,
the disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is called also Krishna Das, not Krishna Das Kaviraj, but Krishna Das,
mm,
Babaji, I
mm,
think he was, or Goswami, I don't know. We
mm,
should check. So this is not one of the many Krishna Dasas, but he is disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti, and he is expanding these 11 verses of his Guru Vishwanath on Gaura Lila into this Gauranga Lila Smaranam, book. It's not so voluminous like Govinda Lilamrita, but it's enough so that you can meditate about one aspect, one prakash of Gaura Lila, where he is Grihasta together with Lakshmi Priya and Vishnu Priya. And then Lord Chandas Thakur had the task to explain his prakash where he's together with Gadadhar. And this is well known in Gadadhar Parivar. This is what we can learn from Gadadhar Parivar. So these are another layers of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. All this, why we have so many Parivars. Because there are so many moods of worship and aspects of Gaurachandrika where he's with different Shaktis. And
mm,
what about, like it is mentioned that Janava Thakurani is also Gaura Vallabha. She is also lover, intimate lover of Gaurachandrika. Although she's married to Nityananda Prabhu, she's Nityananda Shakti, but she has a secret, a sweet romantic relationship, love relationship with Gaurachandrika. And
Where
this
is
can be
this
known.
mentioned?
Well, these are her names. If you read
Oh,
prayers by Ramay
mm,
Thakur in Nanga Manjari Samputika, this
mm,
is the work of Ramay Thakur, or the
mm,
teachings of this Nityananda Parivar. This is the main
mm,
book actually for Nityananda Parivar, Ananga Manjari Samputika.
mm,
These are the teachings of Janavama and Rame Thakur written down by his disciple, the next Acharya Raj Balab Goswami, who was the nephew of Rame Thakur. And so he's putting this into the book, Ananga Manjari Samputika. And he's explaining that Janavama is Ananga Manjari from Vrindavan. That's why Ananga Manjari Samputika. So she is the younger sister of Radharani, and
mm,
Ananga Manjari is having also love relationship with Krishna, not only Radha, but there is a younger sister of Srimati Radharani. And this is known actually through Nityananda Parivar. This is not known so much in Advaita Parivar, and they will not
mm,
accept this because they are in
mm,
another mood. But this aspect of Nanga Manjari becoming Janava Thakurani, which is very clear, everybody knows that Janava Ma is incarnation of Nanga Manjari. This is not a secret. And then she is becoming Janava Ma, and she is keeping this bhav, this Madhurya bhav from Vrindavan in Gaura Lila.
mm,
And she is one of the lovers of Sri Gaurachandrika because Krishna has many, many lovers, not only one, not only Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani is most cherished. No, she is the one, but there are
mm,
also others who are actually expansions, as we understand, expansions of Hladini Shakti, of the main Shakti of Radharani, or we could go on, and Nanga Manjari Samputika explaining this, but still,
mm.
no. And so Janava, what about that? This is being explained in Nityananda Parivar. Gaurachandrika Janava. And this is not so prominent. And in Gadadhara Parivar, it's known that there is Gaura-Gadadhara, couple. And in Advaita Parivar, there is a poem by Stavaraja of Advaita Prabhu, where Advaita Prabhu is worshipping Gaurachandrika in Parakya Bhav. And this is clearly authentic and bona fide. So Advaita Prabhu must have also female form. And there is a Siddhanta in Shastra. I can give this Siddhanta where it is said that all one prominent Mahajan, Nitya Parshad, Gora Nitya Parshad, is giving this Siddhanta, and it's clear from this Advaita Stavaraja, Gauranga Pratyanga Stavaraja, I think it is called, that they all have secret female forms to have parakya relationship in that female forms. And this is coming through Advaita Parivar. And why it is authentic? Because it's appearing in Bhakti Chandrika.
It's interesting you're saying it's coming from Advaita Parivar. I've heard some say that some branches of Advaita Parivar, they don't even accept Nitya Navadvipa. They only accept Nitya Vrindavan.
Yes. There are different developments. But that's why I am always going to the sources. Let's go really to the oldest sources. And let's examine this Navadvip school. Let's examine the works of Dvaita Prabhu. One being, not, of course, this Gauranga Pratyanga, I think, Gauranga Pratyanga Varna or Gauranga Varna Pratyanga Stavaraj, the many verses, over 30 verses that are appearing in Bhakti Chandrika of disciple of Narahari Sarkar. It's completely there, in the book that is accepted by everybody as bona fide. So even it was published by Haridas Shastri from Vrindavan, the famous Shastriji, Haridas Shastri. The guru of Satyanarayan Das Babaji, he published these verses. And it's clear that they are written in Madhura Bhav, in Madhura Rasa, towards Gaurachandrika. So each Parivar is explaining or giving also something about Gora Nagari Bhav. It's clearly there. And of course, there are many misunderstandings about this. Of course, there are sahajas, no doubt. There are sahajas everywhere. We would be very surprised where you can find sahajas. Sahajas everywhere, sahajas in the old institutions, in the traditional parivars. Sahajas are there also in the modern institutions, as we can see daily. So many accounts that people misunderstand or misuse the whole system for their personal gain or just satisfying their lust or whatever.
It's interesting how this word has been misused, because traditionally Sahajas were one particular branch that implemented some Buddhist or Tantric worship, as far as I know. Then
as we know, etymologically, Sahaja means just natural. Sahaja means natural. So there are Sahaja Bhava of Gaurachandrika, but he is natural himself. So Sahaja Bhava, by Mahajans, they are writing now, he is in Sahaja Bhava. That means Gaurachandrika is Gaurachandrika himself, and then devotees will reciprocate and worship him as Gaurachandrika. And sometimes he's in Krishna Bhava, sometimes he is in Gopi Bhava, sometimes he is in Radha Bhava. So it becomes very complex. And of course, for the new devotee, it becomes sometimes too complex. And some gurus are teaching just about one Bhava because it's easier to grasp and is easier to follow. You are not so much. And of course, the more you are beginner, the more you can connect only to these external features of the Lord, of his worship. You can very much connect of Gaurachandrika coming to save the people in Kali Yuga by giving them the holy names. No, and it's very I also think it's very attractive, because his lifestyle is our lifestyle. So we can mold our lifestyle, around this. And some people think, well, now we should actually imitate his sannyas, and going around and preaching and just being sannyasi like this. So we will imitate Gaurachandrika like this. So this is one kind of imitation, although we know that Shastra clearly forbids taking sannyas in Kali Yuga. It's clearly there in the Shastra. Nobody should actually take sannyas in Kali Yuga. Swayam Bhagavan can do certain things. He can go beyond Shastra or break Shastric rules, but we should not. But anyway, there were always some vairagis, some who are very detached, and are fully, dedicated to the outer mission, to the mission with this body in sadhaka rupa, but what about siddha rupa, as we hear from this famous verse, that we should do our sadhana simultaneously in the sadhaka rupa, sadhaka rupena, sadhaka seva rupena, siddha rupena chatrahi. That we should worship, do seva in the material body, but also in the to be spiritual body. With the context of taking spiritual identity. This is siddha rupa or siddha deha, means taking the spiritual identity for a moment or for a longer time, but taking the identity while we are worshiping. We should not be in the material identity or identifying with the material body. So that means you need a spiritual body. You cannot worship without the body. No, so we perform simultaneously with the material body, but more important is our meditation in our spiritual body or spiritual identity. And this is also grossly misunderstood in the modern institutions or just ignored, and they completely take this outer mission of Mahaprabhu as their one and only, although this is a secondary reason for his appearance, as we hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 4. Krishnadas Kaviraj is very clearly explaining, the main reasons for appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which became main missions of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, relishing Prem Ras of Navadvipa and Vrindavan, not only in Vrindavan. I am stressing this, of Navadvipa and Vrindavan, because they go hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
And teaching these to others, teaching these to Loka, Bhakti Loka Korete Pracharan or something like this. I'm not so good in Bengali, but Bhakti Rag Marg, Korite Pracharan. But there is this Loka. I didn't repeat these verses for some time, but he's clearly saying there, his mission was to preach Pracharan, to preach about Rag Marg Bhakti to Loka, to the whole world, to everybody. So we should explain this and see who can grasp this, who can understand this, and who can develop the taste for it. Then they can practice. Those who have genuine, authentic taste, they should practice. If you don't have this, better you don't practice. No.
So I think we've covered a lot of layers of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Now we are almost 1.5 hours.
Right.
First, we didn't know if this podcast would continue for so long. So before we close, I would want to ask you if maybe there is any message you would like to share with seekers who are drawn to this kind of Raganu path and who are curious about this kind of relationship with Gauranga. What is your advice to the seekers who are drawn to this path?
Well, the first advice is really to study the reasons that are given by our Goswamis. Why is Gaurachandra the goal, of Gaudiya Vaishnavism more than just Radha-Krishna? So once again, as per my humble understanding, Radha-Krishna per se, Radha-Krishna and Vrindavan per se are not our goal, and Gaur-Sundar is not upaya or the means to attain this. As he is being used, I think he's being used and misused as just as a mean to attain Radha Krishna. So Gaurachandra is not just a mean to attain Radha Krishna. We should attain Gaurachandra, and through him, he can give us also the means to attain Radha Krishna. So I know that also some Radha Kunda acharyas are rightly also explaining that by attaining our seva and our position in Goloka Navadvipa, understanding Gaurachandra, we will automatically achieve also our place in Vrindavan, and we will automatically achieve our seva to Radha Krishna. And even more, I would like to stress my understanding that also only Radha Dasyam is not enough, that the goal of Manjari Seva or of Ujjvala Rasa are Radha Krishna together. Okay, that would be also my conclusion, that as a Manjaris, even we should worship Radha Krishna together, and we shouldn't worship Radha more or Krishna or to exclude the Krishna and just focus on Radha Dasya. I think Radha Dasya means, for me, Dasya Rasa and not Madhura Rasa. Exclusive fanatical Radha Dasyam is for me Radha Dasyam. This means no Madhura Rasa, it's Dasya Rasa. And it's bona fide. If somebody wants to worship like this, they should worship, but we should be clear about this. So we should be able as Gaudiya Vaishnavas to pinpoint all these differences. And that's why Goswamis wrote so many books, and that's why Mahajanas from Navadvipa throughout Navadvipa wrote so many Padavalis, to pinpoint these differences and then to be clear, and then you are free to worship. If you want to worship Narasimha Dev, you can worship him, but be clear about difference between his worship and the mood there and the mood of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And to understand, can we worship Narasimha Dev? How can we worship Narasimha Dev? And is it really important for us? How is it important? Where's the place of Narasimha in Goloka Navadvip, in the Gora Lila? There is a place of him, but it's another topic. And I think there is no clarity these days about these things. So people are all over the place, or they are much more in Radha Krishna Lila. And I, as Gaura Bhakta, would like to bring this authentic understanding, how it was at the time of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, how the first-hand accounts were, and how these witnesses of his Gaura Lila, what they wrote about this, and how were their understanding, their mood of worship. So I am trying to trace this back through the help of my gurus, and also try to give this to those who want to listen about this and understand this. That's my intention. That's my only intention. There's no other intention to convert people. I don't have any mission behind me. As my spiritual master used to say, we are freelancers, freelance bhaktas. No, we don't have big temples, big ashrams, big institutions. but we have big heart for Gaura-Gadadhara, for Gaur Vishnu Priya, also for Radha-Krishna, of course. And we want just to share this understanding for those who might find this helpful, like this. And we are going to soon publish Govinda Lilamrita, for example, in German language with many commentaries by other acharyas. We are also preparing some other nice books, and yeah, we are steeped in our bhajan, in our seva, in the Raganuga sadhana. We are trying to learn a lot about this and relish the works of Goswamis. We are trying to understand the proper Siddhanta, and there are many developments in the recent past, and my advice is really for all those, no matter from which Parivar, from which mission they are coming, to study the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because I find them very helpful, very practical, very detailed. Also, his example as Grihasta. So, but of course, the editions that we have could be improved. The translations of his work could be improved, could be done by people who have thorough understanding of Raganuga sadhana like this. That's my message for today.
Thank you so much, Dhira Nitai, for opening your heart and sharing
Thank you for having
so
me.
many.
I'm sorry
No,
that
it
we went.
actually was your idea, and I, thanks to you, I made this podcast, and
So we
I
opened now
wanted to thank you
many
again
canes.
for.
We opened, I think, many Pandora boxes even. So I'm sorry, you will
Yes.
have to deal because it will be on your podcast. You will have to deal with this.
But I will have more guests hopefully coming who have also many interesting topics to speak about. And today's podcast had so many layers of like the topic was layers of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and I think we covered a lot of things. Of course, there's a whole universe out there that we didn't cover, and there's I think we can never end to discuss these things. There's so much to talk about.
Yes.
So
So the next podcast
for
can be Pandora boxes of Gaudiya Vaishnavism.
I think we opened some also. So
Or there are many more learned Vaishnavas who can contribute to different things that we discussed today. So perhaps they can also watch this. You can send them our podcast and see what they can expand, and contribute more. So I will be also very eager to learn from other distinguished guests that you will have in your podcast. Looking forward to that.
By Guru's blessings and your blessings, if everything goes well, I hope I can serve you in that way. And for the listener who learn more, I think maybe I will include some links in the description, maybe some books, some resources, and then who is interested can go deeper in these subjects.
Yes.
And then from my end, it's all.
If
Thank
you
you so
allow me
much
just to end with one nice bhajan, because as I said, I'm not a scholar. I'm not even a proper Vaishnava. No, I didn't even offer my respects to my Guru Janas, although I was meditating on them and their blessings today. But also such podcasts are a new experience for me. But just to finish with one nice bhajan, traditional bhajan, that depicts perhaps even better what I was trying to explain about Gaur-Gadadhara. So just I will try to sing few lines. Jai Jai Gadadhara, Jaya Gaurachandra, Navadvipa Braja Lila Shri Radhe Govinda. Jai Jai Gadadhara, Jaya Gaurachandra, Navadvipa Braja Lila Shri Radhe Govinda. Jai Jai Gadadhara, Jai Gaurachandra, Navadvipa Braja Lila Shri Radhe Govinda. Jai Jai Gadadhara, Jai Gaurachandra,
Gaurachandra,
Navadvipa Braja Lila Shri
Lila,
Radhe
Shirade,
Govinda.
Govinda. Jai Ho.
Panchakalpatarvishya Kripa Sindhubhyo Cha
Kripa
Patitanam
Sindhubhyo cha
Pavanebhyo
patitanam
Vaishnavibhyo
pavanebhyo
Namo
Vaishnavibhyo
Namaha.
namo namaha.
Gaura
Jai Ho.
Haribol.
Thank you. Gaur Haribol.
Gaura Haribol.
Radhishyam. Thank you so
Radhishta.
much for this amazing podcast, and
Thank
hopefully
you.
maybe we'll do another episode. Let's see how
I am always at your
go
service
by
and the
Gaur's
service of devotees.
wish. Jai Gaur, Jai Nitai,
Jai
Radhishyam.
Gaura Jai
We
Nitai.
finished here, so
Haribol.
we can stop the recording.